Faviola, why don't you share a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay. Hi, good morning. My name is Faviola Morales. I'm an instructional designer at InterLearn, and I'm also a Spanish and French teacher. And today I have a presentation for you. My presentation is about making conversational language courses work online. Students often feel both excited to learn a new language and frustrated by getting lost in the detail of vocabulary and conjugation. I'm an instructional designer, but also multilingual, fluent in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and English. This allows me the unique ability to know that the skills to start their journey and how to make that happen with instructional technology. There is not a single recipe for success, but the biggest consideration that we need to have in mind is how to structure a course. I propose a model that focuses on creating authentic and communicative situations that enhance skills development and putting in place relevant resources as well as real-time sessions with tutors online. The first step is a pedagogical approach, to choose a pedagogical approach. But what is a pedagogical approach and what is important to select one of these? A pedagogical approach is a guideline that determines how we'll be designing a course and how we are going to facilitating that course. I mean, the strategies, methods, and techniques that we are going to use to put together this course. We want to consider that the nature of the language is communication and that language learning involves understanding the natures, the language vocabulary and structure to be able to receive and produce information in different contexts. Then, to develop conversational course online, we need to choose a pedagogical approach that enhances real communication and skills development. For languages, it's better a combination of communicative ethnographic approach, or in other words, everyday practices, as well as competency-based learning. This makes the learning easier to connect to this content and nature of the language. The communicative approach prioritizes real and meaningful communication. For example, students read advertisements of real French restaurants and choose one. Then they call a friend to convince him to go to the restaurant, describing the type of food that is served in that particular place. The ethnographic approach uses social context and culture as a principle to design learning experiences. It focuses on the design of language opportunities for playing different social roles and prioritizing culture awareness. For example, in a role play in a French restaurant, while ordering food, students learn the kind of food people eat in different countries, as students can also play different roles, the client, the waiter. They also learn social conventions that are accepted in that particular culture. Finally, the competence-based approach enhances skills. For example, the students in the previous example are interacting with the language in some different ways, when reading the menu, when asking for food, when calling a friend. We need a second, the second step is maximizing the 4 skills. In languages, we have 4 skills that are the ones that normally we develop. Language learning revolves around 4 main skills that are reading, listening, writing, and speaking skills. People learn languages to meet new people, to travel, to study abroad, but that's only the start. We need to know how to communicate in different contexts and situations. We must design relevant conversational courses that teach us how to communicate in different situations and contexts. The older language courses that are heavy in vocabulary practice simply won't get us to this level. For designing conversational courses online, we need to consider 2 things. It is important to make a good selection of resources, and also it is important to combine them with real-time tutoring sessions. This can be done selecting an ebook where we can embed tutoring, or we can select simply physical textbook plus tutoring. In my experience, technology tools can be helpful to develop skills. For example, voice recording features help students to improve pronunciation, or to improve speaking skills, while reading blogs, listening to music, make them better to receive information and process information in another language. However, nothing replaces speaking sessions yet. Communication implies exchange, interaction, feedback, motivation, and engagement. And speaking sessions are the best way to provide all of that for real. For conversational courses, we need to heavily rely on excellent textbooks. Otherwise, your language faculty will have to spend many hours cobbling together activities for each skill. Nowadays, ebooks are a good option because it helps us to, with the technology that they have, it helps students to develop speaking skills, because some of them have voice recognition, and this is good because it was forgotten for a lot of time. However, we need to be careful because sometimes technology is only an extension of traditional practices as repetition. This selection criterion that we have here will help you to select an excellent book for your course. We need to consider the approach. The approach, it is better if this is one of the ones that I have mentioned before. We also need to be very careful with the language of the book. I recommend that the instructions are in English, because if students are new in the language, they can be confusing for them. Also, again, it needs to develop the 4 skills, or at least the first 3, and the speaking can be developed by tutoring. Vocabulary and grammar preferably should be explained through video and text. The activities in the book need to provide a context and a cultural point that can be myself, my family, etc. Students need to be aware about what vocabulary and structures are appropriate to use in different contexts regarding cultural differences. Have a look also at the structure of the book and select the one divided in clear sessions. It will help you to structure the course and write instructions. However, this is not a requirement. If it is a book, ask if it can be integrated to the LMS of your choice and check if the tools that it offers make submissions and feedback easier. Finally, make sure the book is user-friendly. It will make your life and your students' life easier. Step 4, design real-world application and authentic assignments but what are the main considerations for assignments design? According to Griffith, 2014, tasks must be authentic. Live tasks extract from different real communication contexts with different purposes, intentions, and levels of interaction that match learners' ability and learning outcomes. Assignments must be relevant and meaningful and provide the opportunity to develop skills while applying vocabulary and grammar rules. We need to design communicative assignments for students to be able to interact at home, at school, at work, using authentic resources. I mean, newspapers, music, movies that help students to understand social conventions and develop cultural awareness to improve the quality of their interactions in real life. For example, buying a bus ticket in Paris is a real situation with a specific purpose that can be crafted to different levels of proficiency to enable students to develop different skills and communicative purposes. When buying a ticket in a machine, you need to be able to follow written instructions and ask for help, while for buying a ticket on the bus and paying cash, you need to be able to have a conversation with the bus driver. It is important to select an assignment for each skill per week, because deliberate practice is a key to achieve proficiency. Deliberate practice helps us to increase performance by receiving feedback, self-reflection, and planning. For example, InterLearn curriculum offers moments for the students to carefully reflect about their learning journey and planning next steps based on feedback provided by the teacher and other students. So while conversational language is more complex to prepare for online learning, it is possible to develop an effective conversational skill in a foreign language in online setting. The first step is to hire a professor who aligns to this model and who is going to focus on all these skills. Any facilitator who feels that memorizing vocabulary or simply doing repetitive practice is sufficient will not get your learners to effective conversational skills. The comparison is simple. Is the focus on grammar and vocabulary, or is the focus on an experiential journey with the language? The latter can be only achieved with authentic assessments and inclusion of all 4 skills: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. The top benefits of designing a conversational language course that works online are 2. You can increase learner engagement and improve achievement levels, and you are making the difference between teaching students grammar and vocabulary, or create a rich communicative environment where students are able to engage in the language and continue learning. Design well, empower your students. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Faviola. What questions do you guys have? I know one of the things that I've had this conversation with a number of people over the years. What do you call someone that speaks 3 languages, or Faviola, multilingual? And what do you call someone who speaks 2 languages, bilingual? And what do you call someone who speaks 1 language, American? And so one of the things that I would love to have us happen in our online programs is the aspect of language development. And Faviola, you hit it straight on the head with the aspect of going beyond just the vocabulary learning to have those real world situations. Several years ago, we were planning a trip to France, and I was trying to learn as much French as I could. And I used the Babbel application, and they're doing just that. They're focusing on the real world situations and trying to help you learn how to use it in real life. So that's an excellent point there. Are there any questions that you have on this topic? Out of curiosity, how many institutions that are represented today are doing language courses online? Are there any? I know Faviola is in the process. She's finished up Spanish 1, is working on French 1 right now with Columbia International. And looks like Lee University offers an ASL and Spanish online. That's great. Okay. Well, Faviola, thank you so much for your time today, and for everyone's benefit. She is zooming in from Europe today. Are you in Great Britain or in Portugal today, Faviola?
In London.
In London. Okay. So
Yeah.
if you, she's coming in all the way 6 hours, 7 hours in our future for most of us. So hopefully she has a good evening from here. Thanks so much, Faviola. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much.